Are you going on a Royal Caribbean cruise and you're trying to decide whether or not to go to one of the specialty dining restaurants? If so, this video series is for you. In this video, we'll go to 150 Central Park. I'll tell you what I think about the goods and the bads. I do have to say this, I went once and I hated it and swore I'd never go again. But this time, it was different. "150 Central Park" is Royal Caribbean's upscale specialty dining restaurant, and according to them, it offers passengers a premium dining experience with a focus on fresh and seasonal ingredients. I need to apologize for the quality of this video because this restaurant is very dark, and that's why the video is so grainy. As I mentioned before, this is my second visit to 150 Central Park, and here's a look at the menu and what I had on this visit. I started with an appetizer of the seared honey glazed scallops. And for my main course, I had seared venison loin. They do have a cheese selection on the dessert menu. However, I decided to have that before everything else. For dessert, I had the fried cheesecake. I did have that the first time I came. That was pretty much the only thing the first time I came that was any good. They also have the Urban Garden Martini at 150 Central Park. This is the only place on the ship that you can get this martini, and they make it right in front of you, right by your table. And I have to say, the description doesn't sound very good, but it's amazing. They also give you a really nice selection of breads. This bread here is the same bread, at least it tastes the same, that you can get at the chef's table if you do that on a Royal Caribbean ship. It's very fresh, very warm, and has a lot of good seasoning on it. And here is the cheese selection I told you about. In addition to the cheese, they put some honey on there. They give you some different fruits and a few nuts. And I strongly recommend getting that before your appetizer. Why? Because by the end, you'll be full and you won't want to eat it. And the cheese is outstanding. These are the honey seared scallops, which were cooked perfectly. Scallops, if you are not a scallop fan or don't eat scallops all the time, are very difficult to cook correctly, and they're very difficult to get them out to the person that's eating them while they are still the correct temperature. And these were absolutely perfectly done. And this is the venison. I love venison, and what I was very impressed about, first of all, it was cooked exactly the way it should be. But what I was impressed about is, and I'm sure this was farmed raised venison, but it didn't taste like farm raised venison. It actually tasted like non-farmed raised venison. And here's the dessert. This is the fried cheesecake, and it was just as good as it was last time. Basically, they deep fry cheesecake, and yeah, it tastes as good as it sounds. Kind of hard to eat while you're holding a camera, however, and it was a great way to end the meal. Now let's talk about the good and the bad, and my first experience going to 150 Central Park. The first time I went, I had the pork belly for an appetizer, and for my main course, I had the lamb Wellington. Both of those came out cold. Well, room temperature, but needless to say, not the correct temperature. And the taste was okay, but that's not acceptable at what Royal Caribbean considers their top tier specialty dining restaurant. The waitstaff was great, the cheese was great, the martini was great, the dessert was great. That was all great, but it's kind of hard to mess any of that up. However, the two main things, the appetizer and the entree, were not edible, and I almost sent them back, and I didn't complete either one of them. And at that point, I just said, you know what, I'm never going back. However, I have talked to numerous people that have gone to this specialty dining restaurant, and they all loved it. So I decided to give it a try again, and I am glad that I did, and I will be going back. This time it was amazing, because if you take the cheeses, that martini, the dessert, I probably should try a different dessert next time. Those were outstanding both times. And you put that with the scallops and the venison, both were cooked extremely well. I have to give this restaurant a high number of stars. If this had been the only time I had gone, then I would have easily given it 5 stars. However, this isn't the first time, and the first time was horrible. So because of that, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. So what are the positives? It has a very unique menu. It definitely has the best trained waiters on a Royal Caribbean ship. The Urban Garden Martini, as I mentioned, sounds, to me anyway, not that appealing, but it's very, very good. The cheeses, outstanding. And as I said before, highly recommend you get those before your appetizer. And as you can tell, the only negative I could come up with is there's no consistency between the ships. Now, could it have been a freak thing for me? Yes, maybe if it was just the appetizer came out cold, but the main course didn't. That, I would say, was just a freak occurrence. However, because both of them came out cold, that is a sign of a bad either waitstaff or a bad kitchen. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Sean, and you're watching Third Orbit Travelers. If you got any value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like anything about travel or cruises, consider subscribing. See you next time.